Welcome to episode 7. I've been waiting weeks to do that. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining me. There are a lot of new subscribers, so I'm just going to remind you my name is Mandy. I live in Somerset with my husband, my 2 sons, only one is still at home, and 4 cats. You can find me on Instagram as amandajane.davies.58, on Ravelry as Mousewitch, but there isn't a great deal on Ravelry. I tend to just use it as kind of a notebook for my projects. And there's a new Facebook group which is called Mousesmakes Knitting Podcast. So that's where we can be found. I'm going to start backwards this week. I'm going to start with my shopping because there are some things that I really want to show you. I really want you to see them. So I'm going to start with those because I think, quite honestly, this week my knitting project is the least interesting thing I've got to share with you. So we'll start with the shopping. I bought a pattern. It's available on Ravelry, and this pattern, it's a shawl pattern, it's brand new. It's Friends Are Like Flowers, and it's by a lady called Kathy, and her podcast is What Not, WHOTKNOT, What Not. She's in Australia, and she is, if you've not caught it, it is really worth a watch. She is just the most fabulously talented artistic person ever. She knits and crochets, she paints. Oh my god, her paintings, her watercolours. She does she does all sorts of subjects, but recently she's done some animal ones, and painting black fur is really tough, and they are just stunningly beautiful. So I recommend seeking her podcast out and having a look. It is just astonishing. And what makes it all the more impressive is that, and I'm not like revealing anything, she describes herself as a disabled maker. She had a really nasty accident, a car accident a few years ago, and she's been left in a wheelchair and with limited use of her hands. So she is phenomenal. And she herself has just designed this pattern, and she's, I think, planning to do a knit along for it. So if that's something that you might be interested in, it's worth having a look at the pattern on Ravelry and having a look at her podcast, because I can't gush about her enough. She is just amazing. So that was purchase number 1, and I'm pretty sure I'll end up having to buy yarn, although I have got yarn, as we have previously discussed. Next thing I wanted to show you was, sorry, this is really rustly, on somebody's podcast, and I can't remember who, it might have been one of the American ladies I watch. Someone has invented this thing that you can use to put stitches on hold, whereas you would normally put them on a spare piece of thread. You can use this thing, I think it's silicone or something like that, and it's hollow, so you can, comes with a needle that you can put into the end of the tube, as it were, and then thread it through your stitches on hold. And of course it's reusable. And I thought that looks really good, but I couldn't find it to buy. I expect it's quite expensive. But then I had a bit of a brainwave, and I'll be honest, I don't know if it worked yet because I haven't tried it. I remembered that my boys used to make these things called Scoobies. And if you are a 90s child, or the mother of a 90s child, you probably know what I'm talking about. And so I had a look on eBay and I picked these up. And they're a lot thinner than what I saw, but I think they might work because they are essentially hollow plasticky tubes. And I know we don't like plastic, but if it's going to be reusable and not go into landfill, the damn things were already made, so I might as well make use of them. So I'm going to give that a go and let you know if it works. Fingers crossed for that, because I have a lot of jumpers on my list, my not very short list, that are going to require sleeves putting on hold, so it will save me cutting random lengths of yarn. The next thing I have to show you, I'm very excited about. There is a lady who follows me, and I follow her on Instagram and on YouTube, and her name is Alex, and she is on YouTube, she's My Yarny Corner, and the same on Instagram. And a week or so ago, she decided very bravely that she would put some of her own hand-dyed yarn on Etsy. And I knew this was coming up, and I said to her, please tell me when it goes up, and she did. And I hovered like some kind of yarn-eating vulture. She only put up 12 skeins, and I bought 3 of them. Might even have been 11 skeins actually. So if you were hoping to get some, and some greedy baggage had swept in and got them before you, I apologise. I am that greedy baggage. They are absolutely gorgeous. I know I say this every time I get hand-dyed yarn, but these, there is something just a little bit different about the colours. I can't put my finger on it, and I've told Alex this, so this is no great surprise to her, but there is something a little bit different, and I'm going to see if I can get them, because the light, I can't get a decent light. See if I can get them, the colours to come out for you. This one is called Mermaid Dreams. They're all superwash merino 75/25. I'll see if you can see the colours that are in there. I mean, they're pastels, but again, I can't quite put my finger on. I think this one in particular, it's sort of a mid-range pastel. It's not all washed out pale pastel, but it's not strong colour either. It's somewhere in between, and I love it because it's got my favourite yellowy green in. It's just gorgeous. This next one is called English Garden, and again it's that goldy green that I love, and purple, and who doesn't love purple? I'm not one of those mad purple girls, but I wouldn't like turn down purple were it to come to me, as it just has. And this one, I'm really hoping the colours on this one come out, because this is something very unusual. It's tonal greens. Oh yeah, they are fantastic. Look how gorgeous that is. And I may be wrong, but I personally have never seen any hand-dyed yarn this colour. I've no doubt there are similar out there, but I saw this. I went on with the full intention of buying a beautiful orangey red colourway she's got, which is called dragon fruit or passion fruit, I can't remember, and saw this, and this went straight into my basket, and I was only going to buy this, but then yeah, we know how well that goes, don't we? Bearing in mind I'm not buying any yarn this year, and I don't know how many hundreds of skeins of yarn I've shown you, and that's only since I started podcasting. God knows how many there were before then. So we're just not going to talk about that anymore, because, well, as New Year's resolutions go, it has failed miserably. And I'm now desperate to finish the socks that I've got on the needles, because that dark green in particular, I know exactly what I want to knit with it, and I want to knit it now, and I've only got 2 sock needles in the right size, and they're both in use. And it has occurred to me that I could transfer those socks onto my new holding system, but then I may not go back to them because I've got kind of ADHD when it comes to knitting, and every project that I'm knitting and the next project that I want to knit, it's always my favourite until I get knitting it, and then I get about halfway through and I'm bored and I want to start the next thing. And I know a lot of people do. I watched a podcast earlier in the year and they had a count up. This lady had a count up and she had over 40 projects on the go, and I nearly had a panic attack. I cannot do that. I just can't. At the moment I've got 1, 2, 3, 5, and one of those 5 is a temperature blanket, so I don't really count that because it's just 1 row a day. So I feel a bit agitated about that. I feel like I'm not giving enough attention to each one as it is. I try and keep it to just 3. So I must not cast anything new on until I've finished what I've got. You heard it here first. Who knows if it will stay. Anyway, I went out again on Monday. This is the worst thing Boris Johnson has ever done, is allowed me to leave the house. Because now there's not just the online shopping, now I can actually go places and buy stuff. It's disastrous. So, in all seriousness, my husband had to go for his second COVID jab, and I drove him. I haven't driven much, well, because I haven't left the house really for 18 months, having been so poorly. So I drove him there. And then the idea was that I would drive him there, and then if he wasn't feeling great after his jab, I'd drive him home. But as it happened, I drove him there and then was so exhausted that he had to drive home anyway. So I might as well have stayed home. But I got a trip to Hobbycraft out of it. So while I was at Hobbycraft, of course, this happened. This is my favourite commercial sock yarn. And this is Rum Paradise. And, well, you can't beat a self-striping yarn of any colour, but you can't beat a rainbow self-striping yarn, can you? It ought to be the law that everyone should have rainbow self-striping yarn in copious amounts. I haven't quite got copious amounts, but this now brings my commercial sock yarn total up to 70, no, it's not, oh God, 79, can you imagine? I'll probably be there in a couple of months. 49 balls, out of which I can probably get 2 pairs of socks. I've got to stop buying it, haven't I? And while I was out, we found a little, well, it's not little actually, it's enormous, fabric shop in Yeovil that we had no idea was there. Because I went to Hobbycraft and I was a bit disappointed by the fabrics that were there. And so I managed to get a trip into another fabric shop as well. And they have so much stuff. Mostly it's upholstery and curtaining, but they have a lot of dressmaking and quilting fabrics as well. And this actually caught my husband's eye. I mean, how pretty is that? I bought it to make myself some knitting bags again, but it's so pretty. I'm actually wondering whether I might make a skirt or a blouse out of it. I know it's loud, but it's just such gorgeous colours. So I bought that, and I also bought, I meant to have a measure up of this, I also bought this. Now, I've been in 2 minds whether to do this or not. I have probably got enough here to make 4 sock sized project bags, so this size. Obviously I want to make one for myself, but there will be enough fabric to make another 3. And what I was wondering is if anyone, it'll have to be in the UK for you to get it in time for June the 1st, but if anyone would like one, I'm happy to make you a bag for just the cost of the materials and the postage, which would be about £12–13, I think. So if you would like one of these, I think most people have sorted them out for Crazy Sock Ladies Summer Sock Camp. New teeth, sorry. If you would like one, and it'll have to be sort of first come first served, you can email me at mousesmakes@gmail.com. Now I'm not sure if it's at gmail.com. It might just be mousesmakes@gmail.com. I'll have to check. I'll put it in the thing. Yeah, because the winners are going to need to know that as well. So if you would like one of these made up for you, email me. And as I say, it'll be first come first served because I haven't got a great deal of fabric. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Amanda at Little Lycac Yarns. That's what her podcast is called. That's what she is on Instagram and on Etsy as well, I think. She has some little progress keepers and stitch markers that are camp themed. So if you fancied some of those, get along and have a look. I don't know how many she's got in her shop. I haven't had a look myself. I just saw them on her podcast recently. So yeah, sharing the love, as it were. So that's all my shopping, which in the scheme of things for me isn't that bad really, is it? There's only 4 balls of yarn, well, 4 skeins of yarn. That's not bad at all. Right, I'm going to break with tradition now, and I am going to draw the winners for the bag giveaway. Normally you're supposed to wait till the end, I think, so that everybody has to watch your whole podcast before they get to find out who's won. But let's face it, you can skip through it, can't you? You don't have to sit and watch it. And if you're going to skip through it, you're going to skip through it. So I don't see why I should either tease you or myself any longer, because I am so excited about this. It's just ridiculous. I'm so excited that I'm actually planning to do another giveaway next, well, I say next month, it'll be in a couple of weeks, won't it? So yeah, watch out for that, because I've really enjoyed doing this. So I'm going to draw the large bag first. So I'm twizzling. Sorry, it's probably very loud. It's like bingo. Oh, I'm not looking. I look up there and pick out a name. This is for the large bag first of all. So let's see. Good luck, everybody. Aha! It's my namesake, Mouse Knits and Crafts. Congratulations. Email me at the email address that will be below, because I now can't remember. I've confused myself as to what it is. I'm sure it's mousesmakes@gmail.com, but I'll check and I'll put it down below. Yeah, email me your address. Mouse Knits and Crafts, if you can read my handwriting. You have won the large bag. I better write on there, hadn't I? Where's my pen? Let me write. If my pen will work. Large. Okay. Sorry for wobbling you. Right, that's the large bag. Let us now draw for the small bag. Twizzle in again. Two little ducks, 22. Apparently they're not allowed to do that anymore. Don't know why. This is for the small bag, and it is Nedame. There you go. So congratulations, you have won the small bag. And thank you very much to everyone who entered. It's been really exciting over the course of the week, getting your notifications and saying which bag you would like and why and other little things. And thank you again also for all the little messages of how much you're enjoying this podcast. It really, I don't want to get all gushy and foolish, but it really does mean a lot, because this is a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do for anybody. And anyone who's had a go at it will tell you it's quite nerve-wracking at the beginning, and it remains fairly nerve-wracking. I mean, I'm only on week 7 here, so it's still fairly nerve-wracking. But particularly if, like me, you will do anything to avoid having your photograph taken. You absolutely hate the sound of your own voice when it's been recorded. And, well, this time last year, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I was on high-dose steroids, and my face was just like a football. It looked like a giant lump of uncooked dough with some raisins in for eyes and a little poke for a mouth. It was so swollen I couldn't get my crash helmet on. And it's gone down a lot. I've still got a little bit here and my double chin, which, I mean, I have a bit of a double chin anyway, but I can tell this isn't me because it feels almost numb. And it's left my neck all wrinkly because it was so stretched. And I've got, you can't see, I'm very careful to make sure you can't see, but I've got a big lump on my tummy that the steroids very kindly left behind, which is getting smaller. They say it takes about a year. I'm about halfway through that now, so we're getting there. Yeah, but that combined with the Kitchener moustache that was so long that I could literally go and pull it into my mouth, and what I call like a Dutchman's beard. Yeah, I was very attractive last year. So now, by comparison, you see, I look at myself and I think I look fantastic. That's not true. I don't think I look fantastic. But last year taught me a lot of things. After the in the middle of the high-dose steroids, they put me onto chemotherapy, and I lost a lot of hair. But fortunately, I had extra hair to lose because I'd been on the steroids, and that made me very hairy. So that was okay. But yeah, it was a rough year last year, and I kind of decided that this year there's not a lot left to scare me anymore, frankly. When you've literally looked the man with the scythe in the eye and stared him down and chased him off, there's not a great deal more can scare you. So I decided to just put on my big girl pants and get on with this if I wanted to do it. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, major digression yet again. The last thing I have to show you is my knitting progress, which, as I say, is probably the least exciting thing. Well, for me it is. I've had a bit of a week knitting wise. Socks are doing okay. I've got one, sorry, I'm going to make a noise again now. I've got one Ryan Becky's Calling sock finished, Crazy Sock Lady pattern. And I did quite enjoy knitting it. I did it all properly. I went out of my comfort zone. I've knit it cuff down, which is not the way I normally knit socks. I've put in a heel flap and gusset, which I very much don't enjoy knitting, but I did it because I set myself the challenge of following the pattern rather than going off in my own little way. What I don't like, I think, about heel flap and gusset is that it leaves you with a seam inside. And to be fair, I don't really wear my hand knit socks in shoes anyway, but I just imagine that I don't know how well you can see it, that ridge inside a shoe would be really uncomfortable, which is why I think I tend to do Afterthought or Flegel heels, because I knit toe up usually. I mean, Afterthought you can do either way, but where'd that go? Oh, there it is. But I don't know, I might see if I can find an alternative heel to do, because I'm getting better with the knitting cuff down. I've learnt a couple of new cast-ons. Somebody suggested, I think it was on my last video, somebody suggested the Andrea Mowry tutorial for the German twisted rib cast-on, and I had a look at that and it has clicked, so thank you for that. I can't remember who it was, but thank you. That was the one that finally settled into my poor brain. But yeah, I've got to find a different heel, one that doesn't require stitches picking up, or that if you pick the stitches up it doesn't leave that ridge, because I don't like the ridge. But yeah, so I'm this far into the second sock, and the yarn I'm using is by Ange Knits, and it's the 75% merino. And this is what I've forgotten to tell you every time I've shown you these socks. This is the first time I've used superwash merino to knit socks with. I've used it for shawls, but I've never used it before these for socks. And because I was doing something that I've done so much before, I immediately noticed the difference in how soft the yarn was. And I've kept meaning to tell you that, but forgot. Yeah, so that's that. It's not coming out. The camera is, I think the technical term is blowing it out. It's a lot pinker in real life. I don't know if I bring it further away, will it? No, it doesn't help much. I think it's my hair upsets the automatic colour do-free thing. I don't know. Now I've got this stuck because I'm trying to take it off the wrong way. I'm so professional, aren't I? So, that's one pair of socks. Let me rummage through my bags. Oh gosh, now that's going to make a noise and annoy you. My second pair is another Crazy Sock Lady design. It's that was Ryan Becky's Calling. This is going on the wrong way. Heel Toe Do-Si Do. I am all over the place this morning. What time is it? It might be lunchtime. It's 1 o'clock. It's my lunchtime. That's why my blood sugar is going. Feed me now. Feed me, Seymour. Sorry, bear with me while I wrestle this sock onto the sock blocker. It shouldn't be that hard, really, should it? Yes. So, I've got, I think, about 2 more rows before I start the toe. So this is Heel Toe Do-Si Do, and again, I am being an extremely good girl and knitting it according to the pattern. So I've knit it cuff down with the slip stitch heel, flap and gusset. It's going to have an ordinary wedge toe on because that fits me quite well. And the reason I paused where I am is I can't decide whether to do the toe in the contrast colour or whether to carry on knitting in this, which is, I think it's, no, it's not West Yorkshire Spinners. What is it? Sirdar Heart and Soul. And as you can see, I'm not exactly short of it, so I could very easily do the toe in the same. I'm kind of leaning towards doing that, doing the toe in the same colour. I think I will. You've helped me make up my mind, thank you. I will do the toe in the same colour. So with a bit of luck, by the time I see you next week, this will have a toe, and there may even be a partner to go with it. but I'm not making any guarantees because I'm a bit of a butterfly knitting wise at the moment. Can't seem to settle to anything. I don't know why that is. Do you go through phases like that? I do, where a particular project will take your attention and you just focus on that and you knit on that monogamous, I can't say that word now, without knitting on anything else, and everything else goes by the by. I have phases like that, and I have phases where I want to knit on everything at the same time, all the time. So I have to kind of ration it out. And then I have other times like this where I can't really settle to any of my projects. And it's not that I don't like them or I don't want to knit. I don't know what it is that, whatever I'm knitting on, I want to be knitting on something else. I think that's the thing. I don't know. This is my One and Done shawl by Casapinka. And it's grown a bit. It's where the little ducky is, there is where I was last time you saw it. And it is in, oh, sorry about that horrid noise. That's the needle sliding across stuff. It is in what I think is possibly my favourite yarn ever. No offence to everybody else. This is Ducky Darling's Peony. And I told her on Instagram this week that I intend to win the lottery and pay her to make this exclusively for me for the rest of our lives until one of us dies. And I shall wear nothing that isn't made out of this yarn. Underwear the lot. Every garment I make, every garment I wear out of this yarn. But I have got to win the lottery first, which is a bit of a hurdle, especially as I haven't bought a ticket. This is, again, it's the Superwash Merino, and it is so soft, and the colours are just, I just love them. I'm very into, this year in particular, greens and greeny golds, sort of dual colours really, which I haven't been previously. Don't know why. Tastes change, I suppose, don't they, as you age? But yeah, so that's that. Not a great deal of progress, which is frustrating because I don't want to give too much away about the pattern. But you get to a point in it where you do something that is quite exciting and something that as knitters we generally try and avoid doing. That's all I'm going to say. You'll have to wait and see. And then there's this. This, I think, might be what's responsible for kind of battering my knitting mojo over the head a little bit this week. I stopped knitting on this on Saturday evening and it's now Wednesday lunchtime because partly it's my own fault. As I have previously confessed to you, I do not do attention square. I do not check my gauge. I just fly off willy-nilly knitting on stuff and hope for the best. And this is the first time I've knit a garment other than socks or a shawl in fingering weight yarn. I don't know whether that has some bearing on the fact that I've come a little bit unstuck. The tension I should have, or the gauge I should have, is 22 stitches and 30 rows to 4 inches. And I've got 26 and 32. So it's coming out a little bit smaller than the pattern expects it to. Which is fine because I'm knitting the largest size on the pattern. The pattern is Breezeway by Fogbound Knits. And I'm knitting the extra large, I think, which is 48 to 54 inch chest. And I'm a 48 inch chest, and it recommends a certain amount of ease, I think. So I thought I'd go for the largest size. So the fact that it's coming up a little bit small isn't actually a problem. It would be a bit shorter than it's meant to be, but that's okay. The pattern actually tells you can adjust the length and where to adjust the length. So that's not a problem. But I got as far through it as not dividing for the sleeves, not quite yet there yet, as adding in my next colour. I'd faded that in, and I don't even know if you can see what I'm showing you. It had faded in really nicely. And it's the first time I've done a fade like that, so I was very pleased. There's a bit you can see, perhaps a bit better. I was very pleased with myself. And the needle I was knitting it on had quite a short cord, and I'm up to nearly 500 stitches. And I know it's fingering weight, so that's a lot of stitches. But my nitty witchy senses were saying something's not quite right here. And so I put it all on some yarn and I tried it on. And what's not quite right is this neckline is enormous. If I slip it off and put it on, I'm not going to be happy with this. It's all still attached to yarn, so I'll probably end up getting a bit strangled. So if I put it on, where are we? That's the raglan for the sleeve. So if I pull that down there, you can see it's going to fit quite nicely over the bust. So that's okay. That's not a problem. But this neckline, I feel, is going to be way too wide. And it's not been washed and blocked yet. So I think it's going to get wider then. And I'm just not happy with it. I would like it to be a bit further in. I mean, that's taking probably 2 inches out the front, 2 inches out the back. It's quite a lot. So my plan, and I don't know if it'll work yet, I've got to try it and see. I'm going to go up a needle size and down a garment size. It would appear I'm quite a tight knitter. So if I go up a needle size, that should deal with the fact that I'm getting too many stitches and rows to my gauge. And if I go down a garment size, that should deal with the fact that I don't like the neck being quite so wide. Because the neck size down, if I can remember rightly, is to fit 44 to 51. So there should still be a decent amount of ease. So I think, I mean, it's all a little bit, I'm going on instinct rather than mathematics. I think if I do that, if I go up a needle size and down a garment size, I should get something that comes out about the same size as I've got, but because the stitch counts will be different, it will have a narrower neck opening. And then once I get past the armhole, dividing for the armholes, I'm going to increase more so that it's more this shape. That's very exaggerated, but you know what I mean. It's more this shape rather than that shape, to accommodate me, essentially, and see if that works. So I hate pulling stuff down. I think we all do, don't we? Years ago, I would have this would have gone in a bag and got tossed in the corner of the room and forgotten about. But I've been waiting to knit it for so long. It's being knit with my year-long advent yarn from Ange Knits. So it's hand dyed, so it's a bit special. It's the first time I'd done the fade, and the fade worked out beautifully. And I did that, let me remember, I did 2 new yarn, 2 old yarn, 2 new yarn. No, I didn't do it like that. I can't remember. I'll tell you next time when I've done it again, probably. because this took me a week to get this far. So I'm going to pull it down and hopefully be back to the same point. Maybe not quite back to this point when I see you next week, but I'm hoping that will work. And if it doesn't, then I might just have to try a different pattern. But yeah, I think that's what's kind of knocked my knitting bug, I don't know what to call it. But yeah, I'll get back there. It's not that I don't want to knit, it's that I don't want to knit the things that I'm knitting. I want to knit new things. And I mustn't knit new things until I've finished these things, because then there'll be a situation where there are so many things. And let's be honest, we all know that I have enough project bags to knit all the things ever invented. But even so, it's not necessarily the way to go, is it? We need to exercise some self-restraint. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll just have to see. Watch this space, as they say. You'll have to see next week what's happened, whether the whole thing's like been relegated to Narnia and I never want to speak of it again, or whether I'm going, that idea I had really worked. We'll just have to see. It's not the end of the world either way, is it? It's just a jumper. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to share with you today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Once again, I will put the email address down below. Email me if you were one of the lucky winners. If you were, Mouse at Knits and Crafts, well, it's mouse_knits and crafts. Or if you are Neda May, I apologise if I'm saying that incorrectly. Let me know your address. Email me your address. Don't like stick it underneath. I'm sure you're not daft enough to do that, but I feel I ought to say it anyway. And I'll get those in the post to you. Next week I will announce the next giveaway, because I want to be able to show you. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to make for you, but I want to be able to show you. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you all next week. Bye.